Generally speaking, we are going to be starting the China Millennium Dawn game. Now, I wanted to do this for quite a while. I made a sub goal for it, I think, probably around a month or two back, which was reached. And I initially planned to start it immediately with a single-player roleplay, because I thought that that would be fun. It's what I did around a year ago this time, and I did enjoy it a lot. But I honestly just felt that wouldn't be as interesting as doing like a really good multiplayer tiered roleplay with China, which is what we're going to go ahead and do now. So this is a tiered game. The tiered system in the server is what we use to differentiate good role players from mediocre ones. So theoretically, this game should have a very high quality roleplay. Whether that actually happens or not, we will find out. But generally speaking, I thought it'd be more fun to do this playthrough in a multiplayer game, because I really do think that they're more entertaining and more enjoyable, more fun to watch. And then I'm obviously going to be making this into a YouTube series, so I think that'll just be generally better and more entertaining in multiplayer roleplay, which, as I think most people know at this point, I just do a lot of that. We outlined our vision for the 21st century, and I defined it as the 5 steps to true prosperity. 1 is energy independence and resource stability, aka the water crisis we have among the massive oil and fuel dependency we have on the West, primarily the Middle East and our trade partners, including Russia, which we have a natural land border with. But the amount of oil and fuel needed to really power China, we can't produce it domestically, so we need to find a way to become energy reliant. Number 2, a cooperative and conciliatory foreign policy to all of Asia, meaning in the past, we saw the Asian tigers, Japan and India as economic rivals, which they are. However, going forward, the Zemin and CCP parties' position on that will be through conciliation and cooperation. Our innate natural strengths, such as our population and economic power, will make us the senior partner in such an arrangement and can benefit us. Number 3, the creation of an export economy through quality and investment, aka we are going to actively cooperate with the West and what they desire in order to be able to build a economic system wherein we are getting invested in heavily, as we have in the past, as the Asian tigers are no longer as prominent after the Asian financial crisis. And if we can work enough with the West, we'll be able to take on a lot of that capital flow. Number 4, developing the coastal region and pulling the wealth inside of us. This is a policy Zemin has already implemented, wherein the special economic zones on the coast, wherein there are lower taxes and government subsidies, as well as just a general focus on industrialization and job creation, will be continued to be focused on. But the idea is we're going to continue to implement policies where that wealth is pushed into the interior and rural areas of China, which historically, especially in recent times, been very poor due to a lack of focus from the government. So we're going to double down on that and continue to try and use that system. And number 5, lastly, embracing the Western economic system and thriving through it. We are going to continue to get even more dramatic in our policy changes, which will allow for, as we'll call it, capitalism, Chinese capitalism with socialist characteristics, aka we are going to make a hybrid government and fully call it what it is and system. So that's where we're at.
Hello.
Greetings. This is a Chinese military vessel off the coast of Taipei. We are formally requesting that Chairman Zemin be allowed to land in Taipei and conduct a historic negotiation with the Taiwanese leadership.
We request for this to happen after the elections, as we fear that any talks will be quite useless after a potential new party may be elected into power.
It is entirely due to those elections that we feel is so pivotal to speak now, given the potential loss of the Kuomintang in power.
Very well, we will signal our military to go and stand.
Wonderful. Ready to go ahead and dock the ship then. President Tu Hing, I am of course Chairman Zemin. Our two peoples have had much struggle and many problems since we found ourselves in this particular situation. I want to take a formal moment to speak to the Taiwanese people as well as the Chinese people at home and yourself in saying that from this day forward, China will be acknowledging Taiwan as an independent entity. And from this day forward, we will only be pursuing a two-China policy. As long as the Kuomintang are in government, a party which China is willing to work with, we view you as independent and will cooperate with you from this day forward. Would you allow me to shake your hand, sir?
Of course, of course.
Wonderful.
We definitely appreciate this.
There is one last thing I would like to begin to negotiate with you. We'll have the details worked out, but China will be shortly announcing its willingness to renegotiate its claims on the South China Sea. And we'd like to have Taiwan involved in those talks and help cooperate so that we can find a middle ground between our claims of the South China Sea and the treaty established with the United Nations being found with the international zone there. Would Taiwan be willing to help us renegotiate and find an equitable solution there for China and its Southeast Asian allies?
Of course, we want peace in Asia as we feel that peace can help economic growth. Though I do think this meeting might have to cut short as the elections are actually underway.
Of course, I will leave you be, and I hope that the people of Taiwan choose a good future. We will talk soon, I hope, as equals, if not as friends. You will always be able to speak with me. Thank you for your time.
Very well. I'll see you later.
We are running a pretty good surplus at a 22% population tax rate. We have an 18% corporate tax rate. We have a surplus of around 12 billion, 107 civilian factories, 27 mills, 11 dockyards, and 39 office complexes for a grand total of 4.75 billion GDP, or 4.75 trillion, I apologize. Our GDP per capita is sitting at 3.7 thousand, which is very low, meaning our people are not very wealthy. There's a lot of inaccuracy in the statistic due to the innate wealth inequality that exists within China, where in the coastal regions, the coastal cities and the coastal economic zones are a lot more prosperous than the rural area. There's a quote from, I want to say Zemin, but it might have been Deng, where he said that some people will get rich quicker in China. All right, join the WTO. For too long, we have been excluded from the benefits of global trade shared among members of the WTO. This will change now that our ascension to the International Trading Organization is complete, and we can better use the institutions of the West liberal economic order to our advantage. Was the widespread provision of job security and benefits to employees in the public sector and in state-owned enterprises. While this has served our country well in the past, a precondition of ascension to the WTO is doing away with this practice, which is, private markets. Is this phone call currently working?
This is working.
Wonderful.
I'm speaking with.
This is a call from Chairman Zemin here in Beijing. I just would like to open up a conversation with you, President Putin. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you, Mr. Zemin. Yes.
I would like to have a very frank talk with you, Mr. Putin, in regards explicitly to Asia, but also to our own economic deal. As I'm sure you are aware, the 5 paths to prosperity that I have dictated for the future of China's foreign and domestic policy wishes to undergo a reevaluation of Asia by China. I would like to talk with you about the possibility of cooperating jointly to build an economic zone together. If we were to cooperate, Mr. Putin, ourselves and our allies, if we were to build them, could make up the majority of the population and the economic power of the planet if we work together.
We are very interested in the proposal, Mr. Zemin. Of course, the West has been very dominant in Asia and elsewhere. And quite frankly, we seek to change that. And if we get China to help us with that, then it will be wonderful to us. So Russia is really interested in that.
That's good to hear. We are looking to expand the Shanghai 5 group in the future, as we feel that that is the closest thing we have to an entity that we can build off of. I am going to be primarily focused on the resource crisis that we have in the water crisis above all else, as well as opening ourselves up to the Western economic system. However, when that is done, as well as several other of the political reforms I wish to do, I'd like to have a proper sit-down with all the members of the Shanghai 5 and potentially talk about how we can build that into a proper economic and political system in the East. Although I don't wish us to be at odds with the West, I think that there's no reason we can't have some overlap with an economic zone that we create here, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I do completely understand that, and I feel the same way, Mr. Zemin. That is good to hear. That is good to hear. I also hope that China is recognizing that actually the nation of Sudan has been reintegrating South Sudan, and I was urged by President al-Bashir to make the world stage aware that he did not commit any war crimes and that he should be rebranded as a president, not as a war crime. As someone that committed war crimes.
That's a very complicated situation, as you know. China is, of course, involving itself a lot more in African economic affairs. But the Sudan situation has caused a lot of unrest with Western nations, ones that we are wishing to build economic relationships with. So I think for now, China will probably take a neutral stance on that.
I understand. For me, of course, for Russia did send peacekeepers into Sudan as requested by Mr. al-Bashir. And they're currently active in the city of Juba in South Sudan, keeping the peace there and help developing the nation.
I fully understand, and you're welcome to pursue any policy you want internally with Sudan. However, China will not ever allow or advocate for the explicit cooing or for wars of offense by volunteers of any of their partners within the African region, which we view as pivotal to the future of Chinese economic foreign policy.
Of course.
Is there anything else I can do for you, Mr. Putin, that you'd like to discuss while we're on this phone call?
Not right now. If something comes up regarding Ukraine, because there's something brewing right there, I would say, I will call you and get your opinion, and maybe you can mediate. But for this, right now, there's nothing to say right now.
Very well. That's good to hear. And we'll speak soon, Mr. Putin.
We'll speak soon. Have a good flight back.
Chinese model of manufacturing. The Chinese economy has gotten this far by focusing on quantity and not quality. We should continue manufacturing products en masse at a low cost.
Hello.
Greetings. This is a phone call from Chairman Zemin calling you from Beijing. I hope you're in good health, Prime Minister Vajpayee.
I am.
Wonderful.
And you?
I am quite well. Have a bit of a flu at the moment, but it is nothing of major concern. But Mr. Vajpayee, I'm here to talk with you about several issues. First off, as you know, China is trying to enter into a much more open foreign policy going forward with countries that in the past it has perhaps had not the best of relations with. Of course, naturally, I know we have had a bit of a problematic past, primarily due to the Jammu Kashmir situation.
Indeed.
And I wanted to frankly have a very honest conversation with you about what it will take to mend the fence and start to cooperate in earnest.
I think a first step would be for our two nations to have an agreed upon border officially.
I would agree. Best and likely. I am ready here today to open up a discussion of where that will be for China and India. Perhaps if we can clearly define our contended areas, we can deal with a lot of the tension that has stopped us from cooperating in the past, as much as we should have.
Yes. I believe, if I say so, if India would be able to relinquish its claim over taxation, if, of course, China would relinquish its claims over the Arunachal Pradesh. And of course, we could do mutual investments as well as a part of any such.
That would be agreeable. I think a proper encompassing treaty between us is something that I am looking for here today. So if we both mutually agree to no longer claim each other's territory and define our current borders as those set in stone for the infinite future, as well as the creation of an economic cooperation, perhaps an economic council as well, and mutual investment, we could really set the stage for a relationship between our two nations going forward, which is going to be one beneficial. Because although it is easy for myself and yourself and governments to be willing to cooperate, we both know it is not that simple. We need our people to also understand and find respect for one another.
Indeed. Especially for my government, having quite strong Hindu opposition, or perhaps even members of coalitions sometimes. We we cannot exit a deal with a sense of our national pride humiliated.
Of course.
Um,
In that case, I would like to offer the possibility that we continue talks in a month's time or so on the border, wherein I will bring myself and my government to the border region between Ladakh and Aksai Shin, and on that border we negotiate this treaty and sign it there
yes,
as a show of cooperation.
indeed.
Is this agreeable to you,
Indeed.
Prime Minister?
It would be, yes, it is.
In that case, I will have my government contact yours, and we will work out all the finer points of the detail. How about February 1st we meet on the border and begin explicit negotiations?
Yes.
Perfect.
I will be here in the Delhi. Yeah, of course. We'll meet in person.
Sounds good.
Yes.
We will speak then.
Well, good day to you, and
Good day. It's rather chilly up here. There are 4 major topics that the CCP would like to broach in these discussions, which we'll go over individually, which is defining the territorial lines between India and China, the discussion of economic investment and perhaps the establishment of an economic council overseeing Indian and Chinese investment, as well as the discussion of the expansion of the Shanghai Five and how India might relate to that, and finally the river diversion project, which is being discussed in China, which we wanted to obviously cooperate with you on, if we even plan on doing it. Is that agreeable?
yes.
Good. Let's get to the first topic, which is the one that has defined so much conflict between our peoples. As you know, China has historically claimed the region that you now own, and you have claimed our own region. The CCP feels as though this does not benefit us in any way. As such, we would be fully willing to simply define the current lines of control and borders as the permanent ones in perpetuity in this treaty. I assume that India is not looking to claim any territory that China currently has under their control.
We do not.
In that case, we have an agreement then that the current borders will be formalized as the permanent borders of Chinese and India, and all claims on territory not currently owned between each other will be formally dropped here today. And with the signing of this treaty? Good.
That is agreeable.
That's good to hear. Let's go ahead and get to the second point, which may be a more contentious one between China and India. As you well know, my country suffers from a very extreme water issue, as the rivers and the massive population that we now have, especially in the coastal region, has made it such that we are finding inventive ways to deal with that. There has been a pretty major proposal being made known as the Yalong Singpao Diversion Project. Are you aware of that, Prime Minister?
Yes, I've read about it, and my intelligence community has also informed me.
We understand that that could potentially create a lot of issues between our two countries as well as Bangladesh. Since we are looking to build a future where we cooperate together, I would like to formally say that the CCP and myself will not approve that project unless we have the explicit permission of the Indian and Bangladeshi governments. That being said, I cannot understate how important this project could be to China. You understand that these water shortages are absolutely pivotal for us to be able to overcome.
But you must also understand that India has been built around these rivers for millennia, and that these plans, however grandiose they may be, would greatly, I would say, destabilize the region and would plummet our ability for food production, both rice and other agricultural goods.
Let me put it this way. If we establish a joint authority over the dam wherein it would be owned mutually by China, India, and Bangladesh, any major water transfers to China's regions would have to be approved by, of course, the Indian and Bangladeshi governments. We would understand with that, of course, that you would be open to do so to a fair degree, as we are in need of it, and would not abuse that position. But broadly speaking, we also do not wish to cause economic, energy-based, and general population damage to our friends in India and Bangladesh.
Would there be any ability to move this dam closer to the Indian border, ensuring, well, of course, ensuring that India could...
Did you have another location
ensure-
in mind that would provide the specific circumstances that canyon does in terms of being able to accumulate so much water safely?
Perhaps right in the border. I think perhaps be more difficult, but
Much more
I still
difficult.
believe that yes.
We would then propose the central region of the border on your province of or my province of Zizang, just to the north of Arunachal Pradesh. It's very close to the Indian border, but we would have the ability geographically to divert water more to the east from there. So it would not be exactly on the border where you want, but it would also not be as far away as the canyon. And since I believe there is already, looking at the map, a road there that goes and could easily be expanded to go into India, we'd allow for a quick and easy movement to and from the dam by Indian forces.
Yes. Let me see. I think that we could have some sort of international body of, let's see, say an arbitration institute ensuring that if India would or if China would stop the water from coming down, that a large litigation would be possible, perhaps within, say, an arbitration institute in addition to the World Trade Organization.
I was just about to suggest the WTO, so we would be completely agreeable to that. But rather, I would like to propose we establish an independent body here within Asia, perhaps a third party, one who is open to cooperation with both of us, and would be willing to work with the WTO and UN, of course.
Say,
Let me make a proposal then, which I think you would find agreeable. As part of this treaty is to rebuild a modern system of foreign policy from China and India, where we do not define the territorial issues of the past as being relevant. I would propose the formation of an economic council to resolve water disputes in all of Asia underneath the Taiwanese government. Perhaps we should, I should get on the phone and try and convince the leader of the Taiwanese government to make a trip up here to the Himalayas.
yes.
Wonderful. Let me give him a quick call. Hello, can you hear me? Are you receiving me?
Yep, I can hear you.
I apologize, I may have a bit of a bad connection. This is Chairman Zemin. I am currently in the Himalayas on the border of India and China. We're currently negotiating a economic and political treaty between our two countries, and for various reasons, Taiwan has been brought into the discussions. I know this is a very odd thing to ask, President, but would you be willing to take a flight out to the Jammu Kashmir region on the border here? We can have, obviously, transportation found for you to discuss things with Prime Minister Vajpayee and myself.
Yes, and you're in the
Wonderful.
Himalayas, you said.
Yes, I would advise if you have some very warm clothing, please bring it. I had to.
I was gonna ask that.
Yes, it's rather cold up here right now. I'll be honest. I am freezing, but good diplomacy is worth it.
Very well. I will get some clothing and I will take a trip. We're in the Himalayas. Is that?
We're in a little border village on the border of the Aksi Shin province and Ladakh. I will have CCP personnel give you all the pertinent details.
Alright, the coordinates will do, and I will be heading there shortly.
Wonderful. I apologize. My satellite phone was working, and I did convince him to come up here, though. So do we want to take a break for the day and reconvene tomorrow when he has arrived?
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful.
I believe that would be necessary. I still have some matters to attend to in Delhi. These talks have taken quite a bit of time.
Oh, I do see you just actually arrived. Oh, welcome.
Yes,
Right.
we will have
Thank
this
you,
talk
thank you.
later.
Of course.
I had to go to the
Debates in Parliament
I
quite
understand.
a while.
Prime Minister, I just briefed the President of Taiwan on what we've been discussing, and I believe he finds it to be fairly agreeable.
Indeed.
Yes, I do think that we can be a neutral partner in this deal.
So in that case, what we have so far in this treaty is we will establish the current Indian-Chinese borders as permanent and renounce all claims on it. As part of this, India did wish for Taiwan, as you also act as a second China, as you know, as part of the two-party system, to renounce your own claims in the Indian Jammu Kashmir region, as the mainland China will be doing as well.
I personally agree. I will go back to our assembly and I will bring this up and I will come back to you, India, with the result of this.
Very well.
But I cannot guarantee anything at the moment, of course.
I understand.
But I will bring this to attention.
Excuse me, General Secretary, but
I must inform you of the news. There appears to have been some sort of terrorism attack on the American East Coast.
I'm also just receiving reports of this. Gentlemen, let's go ahead and see if we can finish these talks, and then I think we'll probably need to go deal with that.
Right, the UN recognizes delegates of Australia. Invited?
Oh, mates. With the recent attacks against the American people, the Australian government and its people wish to formally send its prayers to America. These barbaric attacks will not sever the ride or die relationship our nations have together. And if America would do so in accepting this offer, we'd be willing to help America in any way, shape, or form find justice against these barbaric attacks. I believe that the United Nations should also recognize the fact that this was a terroristic attack from what it seems, and we should be declaring a global effort to fight against these barbaric attacks.
Right then. The UN recognizes the delegates of China.
Greetings. First off, China would like to formally send its thoughts to the American people who are currently struggling with an absolutely tragic incident. We are sure that you are capable of dealing with the situation, and China is willing to provide any resources that the United States government feels needed. On a very much more wider topic, we are happy to announce the GOPRA Accord struck between China, India, and Taiwan, negotiated in the Himalayan mountains, wherein we define permanent borders with India and China and give up all claims on each other, as well as economic cooperation and a joint dam project that will be used to facilitate stability within China and their friends in India. As many of you know, we have announced the Two China policy, wherein we formally recognize Taipei and Taiwan as an independent government and seek cooperation with them. China no longer takes its historical approach, wherein we view all other Asian nations as rivals and those that we cannot cooperate with. We are also call upon the nations of Vietnam, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Brunei to discuss the South China Sea situation, as the CCP is willing to renegotiate their broad claims in the region to reach a reasonable understanding. It is a new day for China as we seek to build a system where we are cooperating in a globalized society. Thank you all.
Okay. The UN recognizes the delegates of the United States.
Yes, this is actually the president speaking, President George W. Bush.
My apologies.
Yes. America has been struck by not only has the two towers been hit, but I myself bared witness to a terrorist attack within Congressional Hall. Both the attempts were made against the White House and the two towers and the Pentagon, as well as the US Capitol building, of which the US Capitol building has been completely destroyed. Many of our congressional members have died today, as well as in the two towers. I myself only survived it due to a Secret Service man who sadly is in hospital, maybe not able to recover. We do know who these people are. I have been told by the Secret Service that it is Al Qaeda and the Taliban that reside in Afghanistan. As of such, with the Afghan announcing their refusal to hand over Taliban, US has no other way of dealing with this but to intervene into the Afghan and to arrest and potentially bring Osama bin Laden to justice. I urge all
The George
of you
Bush
to
USA.
support
This will be
United
interesting.
States in its effort to hunt down these terrorists and eradicate them once and for all. For today we have to rebuild America. That is all I wish to state.
Wow, we got a hardliner conservative USA in this playthrough. That's going to be interesting.
Again. That is all.
Thank you very much. Well, Okay then. In that case, I'll ask the UNSC to start the meeting. If you can please, Security Council, go to your respective channels. In that case, the General Assembly here is come to an end.